Hello and welcome to this panel discussion about the role of artificial intelligence in the aviation industry. During the last years, we all know topics like ChatGPT, Adobe Firefly, or Midjourney. Everyone is talking about these topics in the general public and in our daily lives. Artificial intelligence is a new topic for all of us, affecting our daily life, but especially here in our industry, aviation, and especially aviation safety management systems. It is really a technology where we believe that it can make a huge impact how we will work in future in this industry. Any conference you might have attended in the last couple of years, there was definitely one topic about artificial intelligence in aviation safety management. We know we have to do certain changes in our industry, and we have to see what is important that we achieve this goal, predictive safety management system, what is out there in the ICAO documentation already since the early 2000s, if you were reading the first versions of different ICAO documents. Today, I'm honored to discuss this topic with my colleagues in this panel discussion and to see what the future will bring to us. My name is Günther Schindl. I'm the CEO and co-founder of the company ASQS, and I'm happy to host this webinar. So I would like to hand over now to my colleague Jacqueline, who will do the introduction and introduce our panelists for this discussion today.
Thank you, Günther. I would like to welcome Theresa Tran from Lufthansa Industry Solutions, Alan Sternberg from Beams Technology, and Günther Schindl from ASQS.
Thanks for the introduction. I'm happy to be here. I'm Theresa Tran. I'm a business manager at Lufthansa Industry Solutions. We are a consultancy firm, not only for working for Lufthansa, but also in other industries, for example, the retail industry or the automotive industry.
Thank you, Alan.
Hi.
Do you continue?
My name is Alan Sternberg. I'm the CEO of Beam Safety AI. We are a safety intelligence company that work together with industry leaders to help them automate their processes in safety risk management and to provide new insights. And I'm very thankful to be invited on this panel.
Yeah, thank you all for your introductions. So let's dive right into the discussion, and I'll start with my first question for you. What do you think are the most transformative ways AI is currently shaping the future of aviation, and what excites you the most about these developments?
Well, aviation safety has different areas where AI is being implemented. If you read the EASA AI guidelines and roadmap, you will find, I think, around 8 topics where AI is being implemented and where use cases are being discussed. In our case, safety risk management is what we are discussing today. In safety risk management, I think AI is playing already a crucial role in being much more efficient in processing reports, in doing aggregated risk analysis and risk management, which is what Günther already said, a path to predictive and proactive risk management. So it is already transforming that industry. And my assumption is that in the upcoming years, because people will have much more time in their risk analysis and risk management, which then allows them to become more proactive in their conversations around risks that might happen in the future, and also use predictive AI models to manage future risks. So it is already happening.
Thank you very much, Alan. Theresa, do you have anything you wanted to add to this question?
So I think also, as Alan said, AI is becoming a bigger influence in the aviation industry for sure. And I think also everywhere AI will come. It's just a question how we use it. And I think there are a lot of possibilities that we have, a lot of opportunities. And we already doing this together with ASQS to have here AI for all the customers, so that you can use AI without needing to worry how to implement it, because we take this over for you.
Thank you very much. So what future AI innovations in aviation do you believe will improve our day-to-day working lives the most, Günther?
I think especially in the area what we are discussing here, safety risk management, I think important is to remember we work in a pretty traditional industry where, of course, innovation always takes a certain period of time for a good reason, with very strict regulations in our industry. That's why we work basically in the most safe mode of transport in the aviation industry. So it is important that on the one side, we have to analyze new technology, what we would like to implement in our industry. And that's why we have this very safe environment we're working in. Here with AI, also especially in the area where we are discussing it, I think it has an excellent business case where it will accelerate the transition of the scope we are working in. Traditionally, we've processed the different reports through applications like iQSMS in a traditional way. So, of course, we have replaced a paper system based on electronic systems. Of course, with this transformation, we were able to help our customers and organizations working with iQSMS in a daily working environment. But now with artificial intelligence, I think it's a complete shift of paradigms, how we work here in the industry, because it's not anymore just replacing in a way what we've done before in paper system and of course automating the things, but it's a complete shift of how we work in the future. So I think this is extremely exciting. Of course, it also will create certain risks for the organizations. We have to properly manage this kind of transition, but there are huge opportunities on that side.
Yeah, maybe to conclude here, I think it is important to understand the biggest challenges right now in this market. When Günther's team and our team at Beams together spoke to users of iQSMS, one of their current challenges are that you have increasing data coming in, not only increasing reports, but also data that comes in from various sources. You have the challenge of historical assessments that are being done by humans, which means that there are automatically limitations in consistency. And you have the challenge that there is an increasing standard of regulations coming in to demand a complete picture, more aggregated pictures on risks in real time. And what Günther's team, ASQS, and our team has done was to understand, in order to get to that future where you have real-time aggregated dashboards to understand what are my top risks, what happened yesterday, what will happen predictively next week. In order to get there, what we have decided together is to start from how to get the reports into the system, how these reports are being processed, and how we can use technologies such as AI to make it not only more efficient, but also more consistent. Because if you look at taxonomies, then you have obviously different teams, different operators, different divisions that use different taxonomies, which is challenging if you want to look at it as a consistent aggregated view. So for us, one of the first tasks were to look at the reports that come in, try to help people quickly understand these reports using artificial intelligence, trying to help them in a way where when they triage reports, that the taxonomy is more aligned and more suggested from AI, because I think that is very key when we talk about AI, is how AI should be used. There are industries out there where it makes sense that AI is also deciding the result and initiates workflows. But in the case of aviation safety and safety risk management, the role of AI, and I think we all agree, is an assisting, a suggesting approach, which then helps analysts to be more efficient, increase the data consistency, which then has the effect on aggregated data. So I think it's kind of key when we ask this question, what is the future of this, is to understand the path to get there.
Yeah, and also in the last years, a lot has happened. We have like every day actually new news on new findings. So I think ChatGPT, it's now a few years ago that it came out, and since then so much happened. In the beginning, it was more like playing around a little bit, but you really can see now that it can help to make processes much more efficient. And also there new things come up every day. So for example, now important is also agentic AI. So agentic AI meaning that AI is actually multiple agents working together, so that it's not only answering your questions like it was with ChatGPT, but now the AI gets an agent, or there's an agent that has the ability, for example, to contact a system. For example, in our case, it could be the system with all the reports in there, and also get information from there, giving it back to the kind of chatbot who is then answering. So that you really can combine here multiple tools to get even more kind of a human-like experience.
Thank you very much for all your input. I now have a phrase by the American researcher Roy Amara, which I would like your opinion on, and it states, "We tend to overestimate the effect of technology in the short run, and we tend to underestimate the effect in the long run." What do you think about it, and how does this apply to especially AI enhancing aviation safety?
I always say when I speak to industry experts in, let's say, in aviation safety, that humans are really bad in understanding when they are in an exponential growth. What does it mean is that we are already in an exponential growth of how this new technology, that is actually not that new, but the way it is being applied is quite new, is that this new technology is already in most processes and it's already at this adoption phase. And when I hear this quote, I think in short term, humans have limited capabilities to understand what's the use case, what's the impact. We've seen this with the introduction of the internet. We've seen this with the introduction of payment, virtual payment or cashless payment. We've seen this with the introduction of the iPhone, and we see it again with AI. So short term, it is very difficult for any industry, any human to understand what is the impact. But long term, it will completely disrupt what we today understand. And specifically in safety risk management, when people ask me, what do you think is the big impact on this? And when I listen to that, when I hear this quote, I think we don't even understand today what change management this will bring in this industry. And some of the things we here as pioneers in that industry, we have seen this already. For example, when I talk about change management, as Günther described, the process to look at a report, to analyze that, to process this report is done based on the technology that were introduced in the past. Now, with AI, you completely start from the other way around. You suggest results in the beginning of the process that starts a thinking process for the analyst, for the people using iQSMS, and then completely change the way that risks are being analyzed. And I think that is what we've seen already today. I love when I speak to users that are using iQSMS and the technology we bring to it. They always say most of the functionalities we've developed, oh, I thought this will come in 10 years, which goes back to this quote where they assumed that things will come very later in the future, but they're actually here. And that's why I enjoyed your quote. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Theresa, would you like to add anything to that?
Yes, with AI, if I refer to this quote, we are actually realizing that a lot also when going to customers and also trying to implement AI for them. So often you start with a POC and the hopes are high and maybe there are also very good results in the first place, but what the really art is then actually to bring this to operations, to maintain this in the long term, to have also the security measures in place, having this maintainability so that it's up and running all the time, because you are dependent on it running the whole time. And that's also really hard to have this. And I think, yes, there are a lot of opportunities, and you really need to go this step from POC to MVP and then actually into operations.
Thank you very much. Günther, do you also have something to add here?
Yes, definitely. I would like to see it a little bit from the other side. I think what is important that users also understand, especially we also should not overestimate the capabilities of AI. I think it's important, especially when a company is starting to implement these new technologies, it's not fixing automatically all your problems just at the beginning. And I think that's what we see sometimes also with first-time users of our applications. They think it's just magic and suddenly everything is automated. We have to think about it. We talk about accuracies of around 85% in the data, I would say. But that also means around 15 to 20% of the reports, for example, we are processing. The AI is either not able to provide a result to the user, or maybe the result is not 100% accurate, what we see here. And I think this is also the important thing when implementing AI tools, especially like said in this code. At the beginning, there might be a certain, of course, there's huge excitement, but maybe shortly after, people also see, well, it's not magic what is provided. And I think that's really important to consider that, and also in the way we are thinking about then an implementation of a tool like this. So we cannot expect that suddenly everything is changing how we work, but it has a huge impact on the working processes. So from my side, purely from the aviation point of view, I think based on that, it's extremely important when we start, or when an organization starts to implement AI tools, that we are properly training also our teams on that and our colleagues on this new technology, that we deliver a certain basic technical understanding. Of course, we don't have to bring them to IT gigs, etc., etc. But there is this basic understanding of the teams working with AI tools to know how does it help the organization, how accurate or what kind of accuracy can we expect from these applications. And I think that also will have a shift in how we are training in future. Our staff, our colleagues as safety analysts, etc., etc. And then especially to get these long-term targets, what you've mentioned in your quote, and that we are, and also what Ellen says, yes, we can overexcite the people and show results here much, much quicker than we were before. But I think this very basic level of training to ensure that there is not an overexcitement of the people using the tools, I think that's extremely important at the beginning, that we look in how can we train the people, how can we focus on these shift on how we are working, that we deliver that to the users.
I think that's a very important point, to really include the end users, right? So sometimes it's like management says we need AI now. So I would say that's not the right way to go. Actually, what is much more important is to see where are the real challenges, right? How are the processes looking at the moment, and where is potential to make them better? And then AI is one option, and we have here a lot of good examples how it can be used, for example, in iQSMS. And at the same time, it's so important to really, include the people who are using it in the end, because for them, sometimes it is not excitement. Sometimes it's not high hope. It's more like fear. Oh my God, what is happening? How will my job be maybe influenced by AI, right? So it's so important to really include them from the beginning, also talking about their expectations, also talking about their fears and hopes, as you said, to really give them a better impression what AI can do and what it cannot do.
I love this topic because if I would describe how we onboard new organizations into this technology, it is education, education, education. And we have to first demystify the term AI and everything that comes with it, because obviously it is a term similar to marketing or similar to other very broad descriptions. And I would like to be a bit practical, so people that are watching this can also relate to their own processes. When you want to improve a certain workflow, you need to go to a micro level, meaning you need to be able to describe, I currently do this A to B process, and in this process, I have this challenge. So you need to be able to describe. And I think in this early conversation, we already help people to think not in solutions, but in challenges. When you then are able to describe a challenge that is also connected to a system like iQSMS, to the data of that exists, then we can come in as experts and can say, well, how about you use those technologies? And sometimes, it is ML, sometimes it's NLP, sometimes it is LLM, sometimes it is not even AI, that can help you be more efficient. And what is extremely key is to take away the fear that this will basically replace you, because it will not and it should not. And a lot of the times we can show that the people that use systems, for example, like iQSMS, is that they are actually always in control of the process. And with AI, the only difference is that they have a more, let's say, consistent understanding of what's happening, because the data is more consistent, and they will decide, okay, much more faster, much more efficient what they're seeing on the screen. And I think this topic of education is extremely key, as you say, in involving them, and also speaking about top-down decisions where management want AI. I think it is also important to distinguish between the different personas of who wants to use such a technology. If you look at a manager level, they want to see real-time aggregated data. If you talk about an analyst, they want to optimize their processes because they have too much current manual work and too much data and too little time to perform actually what they're here for. And if you look at people filing reports, for example, in our case, they want to have an easy way to do it. They want to be in the moment to do it. They want to feel comfortable in their language. And they want to make sure that whatever information they also attach to their report is going to help the process to be consistent. And I think that's why practically you need to separate these conversations, and you need to come from the challenge perspective and then use technology on top. Our job is to help people understand the challenges and not think in solutions, because people always think in solutions. It's the biggest issue, because you always think about, I need a feature, or I need this extra workflow because this will help me. But we need to educate them to think about what is actually the core problem that you're trying to describe.
Yes.
So it's a very exciting discussion.
Definitely. Yes, I think it's a lot of listening in the beginning to understand first where are the challenges, as you're saying. And then AI is one tool that can be used among others, right?
And that's also why I love the cooperation between our three companies, because iQSMS, of course, is just a platform. So it's the platform where we are processing a report from A to Z to have the full process. Yeah. And I often get asked by friends, customers, partners, why are you not developing the AI tools as ASQS? And they are very clear, and that's why I'm so glad that we have this cooperation with Beams Technology and Lufthansa Industry Solutions. Because like this, we all focus on our core competence that we have. AI is not the core competence of ASQS. Our core competence is focusing on the aviation-related process, make that as an optimum process within our application. But then really in the cooperation, what we have to use the specialists with technology and find meaningful ways and easy ways to incorporate this technology into our application and our platform. And that's why I think this cooperation is so fantastic, what we have between our three companies.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I think there's one thing that is very new to safety risk management. And I think that's why ASQS is a de facto pioneer in this. What is changing currently in safety risk management is that leaders like ASQS, and currently actually ASQS as the leader, understands that their core expertise is a platform. And Günther brought us in from outside to help them act as a better platform. And that thinking process is I think it is standard in other industries where you think about cloud and AWS is the platform or Azure is the platform. But what is really new is when we entered, like Beams as a team is not from aviation. Our previous companies are Meta, AWS, Spotify, SoundCloud. So we come from areas where we know the concept of platforms and applications on top. And we knew from the very first meeting with Günther and his team that we will become an application. And that I think is the big innovation in safety risk management, because if you look at the landscape of SMS, if you look at other systems, everything is closed. And iQSMS is de facto that we work together, it is an open platform. And that's extremely smart.
Very interesting insights from you all. We now heard a lot of what is expected for the future, how AI can be implemented. I now would like to ask you, what are specific improvements that AI has brought to the industry? Günther, would you like to start?
I think what we really change here is, as I said already in one of my initial statements, since the early 2000s, the target was predictive safety and risk management. But there was also then the common understanding around 2015, around that time, that we said, well, with today's technology back then, if we implement proactive risk management, that's already a challenge and that's a big step forward. But we also understood with the technology back then available to really implement predictive risk management was actually not possible. But now with this new technology and also in all the discussions we have on a continuous basis, it will be the future. Of course, it's still a long way to go to this direction that we really become predictive in analyzing our data. But AI is paving the road for that. And AI can process a lot of data within milliseconds. We as humans, we're not able to do that. We're not able to remember like 50,000 safety reports which are in our database. AI can do that in milliseconds and take analysis based on that, make predictions on that. Yes, it still will take a longer time to achieve that goal as it's defined in the ICAO documents, but that's the biggest game changer of AI in our industry, and that's why it's now such a challenging but also extremely interesting time to work, especially in that scope.
Yeah, I can give some examples of our partnership. When people talk about proactive risk management, what, let's say, subjectively I understand based on our partnership with ASQS, we get calls from iQSMS users that say, because Beam's intelligence show in iQSMS the correlations of hazards, and even the fact that we detect hazards in reports is a proactive way to look at risks, because hazards can lead to an event. So it's already not looking at the event and thinking about, what can we do better in the future, but it starts with what could lead to an event. And AI is able to detect these hazards, is able to show you the correlations, and that creates conversation. So you get practically a call and from a safety manager that says, super exciting, well, we looked today in iQSMS and we saw these are the hazards that were detected yesterday or last week. And these correlations provoked a conversation today. And that, by definition, is proactive risk management. And the predictive side of it as Günther says, it needs many more years of consistent data, the aggregation of other data sources to run simulations of predictive models. But we're not, like, when I say years, probably in a year or two, you will have that in a very early version with really interesting simulations. So I think, big shifts will come in that space.
Thank you. Theresa, would you also like to share your opinion on this with us?
Maybe I want to refer to the last thing you said, the data, right? Because I think that's a very important point. So garbage in, garbage out, right? So as better the data is that comes in, the better actually also the results are. And here, of course, the human is a very important factor again, because we can have this human in the loop to have the opportunity to give the AI more and more experience so that the results are getting better and better. And I think, yeah, that's very important to know that actually the data is the key actually to better solutions.
To build on that, if you want to understand the training of AI, it is a partnership. It's a process of a partnership between humans and a machine. In the case of hazard detection, just to give you some good example, you have humans that manually perform the task of detecting hazards when they read reports, hundreds of it every week, and AI learning from these actions and trying to understand how different humans come to a conclusion and mimic that and try to have what humans cannot have, this overview of different input of human data. And I think it's also important to educate that it's not AI training by just looking at data and AI comes up with something. There's no one AI, there's no mystical thing about it. It's actually humans working together with technology to always train and improve the data. That's what this is. And that's why when you say, can I trust the data that comes out of AI? The question is, could you trust your historical data that only comes from humans? And the answer is no, you can't fully trust it. That's why humans need to be skeptical and also be in charge. That will not change with AI. You always need to have a human that needs to look at the data and say, well, my experience says you did a good job or you didn't do a good job. That's why I think in safety risk management, you will always have this concept of a co-assistant. That's why our products are called Co-Validator, Co-Analyst, not just for a fun, brand name, but just to explain that you have an assistant here. And that's key.
And I think that's the important thing here, really. It's the co-pilot for our safety departments, yes, with all the functionality and what we're providing here to our customers. We want to assist the user and we don't want to replace the user. That is never possible to replace the users. We want to provide them effective tools with our partners, implemented correctly in the workflow, how our safety departments are working, and use the different functionalities strategically in the application within iQSMS, but being the co-pilot for the safety departments. And that's what we're working for, and that's the direction we're continuously thriving the product together.
Very, very interesting. Thank you all. Now I would like to go, as I said, back to the future trends. You said it, you spoke about it before a bit, but what are future trends that you would really see in the aviation industry, especially for safety, and how do you expect these trends to shape the industry in the coming years?
One trend that you will also see within aviation safety is the application of AI agents. You talked about it, meaning that you will have on various tasks that you're performing, whether you're an analyst or you are filing a report or you're a manager or even in other areas outside of safety risk management, you will see more and more agents that will help you, in your day-to-day work. So that is a future where you basically have your own team. If you want to be a bit more abstract, you will have your personal own team that helps you perform your duties. That's one of the things I'm pretty sure we will see very soon in the future. The other thing is, when you talk about efficiency, is I always like to compare this to superpowers, right? So you will see a class of work, like a working class in aviation safety very soon that will individually have superpowers depending on your role. And that's actually what AI can bring, because you will be much more efficient. You will have a much more broader scope. You can look into the future. So the concepts of AI, being not only an assistant, but also does a lot of classification. Like you see classifications model coming in more and more. AI agents, these things will make you really be a human that has the capabilities of, let's say, 1,000 people performing your task. And why I do think that this is also the right industry to apply that is, I think the fear about AI in other industries, it will replace thousands of people. And yes, that might be true when you are in a creative industry or when you are writing or editing. Maybe that's the case. But in aviation safety, the situation is different, because the people currently performing safety risk management are pilots, cabin crew members. So people that actually come from the operational side to, on top of that, perform that task. So you're understaffed for the amount of data anyway. And if you have now a technology such as AI, you have a pilot that can analyze data, imagine like for 1,000 analysts. So I think in that sense, you are a relief and not actually a danger. That's why I'm excited about that future.
Yeah, and I think to add here is, when talking with safety departments, we know it's everywhere the same problem. We get too much data. We have to allocate kind of the same initial timely resources on each event that we get the basic understanding what is the event about. So we are spending the same amount of time for the regular bird strike without damage compared to a really critical safety report that has been filed. And of course, the larger organizations are, and the more reports we are processing, the danger is, of course, that we oversee those reports that are actually critical for us, because it might be a long text from a crew member, where the initial part of the report might not even be a critical event, but at the very end, we see this critical information. So it will help us really the kind of, let me say, standard reports to automate as much as possible to a certain degree, but always with keeping in mind the final decision is with the user. So, and that's why we are not replacing anyone. There will always be this final decision of the user and the safety expert. But it will make available resources for an in-depth analysis of actual real safety critical events, which in many cases we don't have to do. We can't go into full details in the root cause analysis in proper investigations because it's simply not possible, and it is difficult to diversify between the statistical relevant information that we must process and what is extremely important for us to identify trends compared to the safety critical reports we are analyzing. And I think that's also going to be one of the challenges we have to go in the future in that direction. We are in an extremely safe industry. And of course, events that are regularly happening. And if we go today to a traditional BI tool, we always see the graphs of those events that are happening the most. Events that are frequently happening in our industry, we have extremely well under control. We know the safety barriers that have to be implemented. Of course, we have to analyze the effectiveness of the safety barriers. But I think what is important for the future and where AI must play a role in the future is that the tools will tell the user, I have identified something, I'm not aware of what's the underlying information, because we know if we go to an accident analysis, there's always at least one or two components which were not under control for the organization and which was basically not known before. And that's why an accident is happening. And I think that's the critical challenge for us as developers of these tools. How can we identify exactly these reports? We can't give the user an answer what actually happened, what's the underlying hazard, what's the underlying risks, but that the AI will tell the user, I have here something, I don't know what it is, please take the time and properly investigate on that side. It's a huge challenge for us because we know how AI works. It's big data models. So of course we have to fetch from the data or the big data situations we cannot properly classify. And I think that's going to be a challenge, but that must be the goal for us to go in that direction to further improve our industry.
And I think it's also very important to build trust here. So, for example, we can implement measures that help the end user to trust the application more. For example, working with confidence values, so that the AI says how confident is the system that it is, for example, a certain kind of ATRAP classification. Or also to maybe just show which similar historic tickets or reports are actually the reason why the AI thinks now that it's this class, because there were similar in the past. And so it's really important here to give the users something on hand so that they still have the control and also make their life easier. For example, I spoke to one pilot and he said that for him, he always needs to read the whole text to really evaluate what it is. But if he gets a suggestion by AI with some good reasons for it, then it takes him much less time to actually say, yes, I think the same way, or also say, okay, but wait, that's not what I think, it doesn't fit together. And then this knowledge can be used for the future again, because we have more, better, new historic data then.
Also, to give some additional examples, I think the roadmap to the future will be what we see today after working together now for a short period of time, but the impact we already had is that you can now process reports way faster, right? That's already today. The future will be in steps. One, AI will help you to prioritize the data you get in. That's a big challenge today. So is it a mandatory report? Is it a service report? What kind of risks are associated to that? So that the prioritization is going to be the next step in the roadmap. And then after that, you will go to the aggregation, not only of one division, but across divisions. Because that's a big challenge today, is you have flight ops, cabin, maintenance, ground, and then even other departments, and then also C-level on top, where you need to show a consistent aggregation of data cross-divisional. And also not only within an organization, but also when you look at the regulators or other external parties, what you want to see in the future is alignment of the data you receive. One of the big issues you see today, and I spoke yesterday to a regulator, is that when they receive the data, they need to manually basically work backwards to understand the taxonomies, to understand the aggregation of data and the consistency, which goes to the future is alignment. AI is going to definitely help that all of these different stakeholders within an organization and externally end-to-end, and that's exactly the platform you're providing, will have an alignment on the results from different perspectives. And I think that's the future of what I predict in 2-3 years, where you see an entire end-to-end ecosystem will align on the data that they will see.
Thank you. Yeah, very interesting insight into the future. So we already talked about it a bit before, about the key challenges of implementing AI and also how they can be addressed effectively. Do you have anything more to add there, especially also when you think about ethical considerations or regulatory challenges in the aviation industry?
As already briefly said, initially for me it's the training of the people. That really everyone understands how to use these type of tools. It's not just something you plug in and you start it. You have to adjust your working process. You have to think about your procedures in the organization. You have to bring the knowledge to the team, what AI can deliver, what AI cannot deliver. And so for me, it's really training will be a key element for the future, working with this new technology. It's like you fly, with a historic aircraft, or you have a glass cockpit. It's a completely different concept. The pilot has to perform his duty but this is the same now for me, it's exactly the same. Working without AI and working with AI, it's like now you have the glass cockpit, what you didn't have before as a pilot, and that's AI in safety management system.
Yeah, and to add on that, I think there's a lot of onboarding procedures. Onboarding is the key, not only the staff, but also into the infrastructure, meaning security measures, anonymization of data, making sure that you just meet and integrate into that ecosystem. And the other thing is, once this is done, once the teams are trained, once the IT infrastructure is set up and it's tested in a secure environment, it's about helping the individual organization to look into the historical data and make sure it in the future is more consistent. I try to stay on this word consistent. To give you some examples, we've seen some operators that have taxonomies where they mix hazards and events in one view. Others have a different view on taxonomies. And I think what is important is when you do an onboarding is you need to also help them get a clear definition of what is a hazard, what is an event, how do you want to look at both, and then this will help the quality and consistency of the data that you do. So that's one of the biggest challenges, is really to help them look at their historical data from a different perspective, working with this technology. Because as you said, when the input is already confused, then the output will not perform much better.
Totally agree. So yeah, training for the people who are actually using it, maybe also combined with the topic of trust and the data. So I think those are two big challenges that there are. In your question, you also mentioned regularities. So, I mean, we do have the new EU AI Act now in place, but I wouldn't say is a real challenge. For me, it's more like also good that it is there, because it just guarantees that in Europe we use AI in a regulated way. And actually, I think that can be also a benefit. I mean, you need to follow certain rules, but I would say most of them, they are things that we also want to have as rules, right? So that's why I wouldn't really name it a challenge with the regulatories. It's more just something that is actually in place with good developers anyways, and now it's just as that the ones who don't do it, they also maybe shouldn't do it.
Yeah. Yeah, and also to your question, ethical question, I think what is important to understand by design, how we set up in iQSMS the integration with our partners. By design, there will never be any personalized information transmitted to our partners. There's no personalized information processed by the AI. So we are not transporting any information like who was the pilot, who was the reporter. We are applying a so-called PII removal script. So also from free text, we eliminate personalized information as much as possible within the iQSMS platform already before the information is even transmitted to our partners. So of course, I understand there's a fear, and especially from unions, to say, will these tools be tools that our employees will be classified or based on personal assessments of employees? And there's the very clear answer: no, not at all. That's already by design. That was for ASQS one of the key initial basic decisions that we said. There will never, ever be any personalized data be processed through an AI and not shared with any of our partners. And that's by design. That's not even possible that we're sharing these data fields to our partners. And I think that's a very critical information for the users, and hopefully also is in a way reducing a certain level of fear of some of the stakeholders within our industry.
Which goes back to the term education. It has been from day one of our partnership, one of the mission was to educate regulators and stakeholders in that industry to demystify AI, because it is great that everybody wants to have it, but everybody doesn't know what it is, right? And what we are doing is we're working with the regulators in Europe and also in the US closely to define the use cases, because what we're creating here are complete new use cases. And I got the question recently from a regulator, why do you willingly talk to us about all these things? Like, why are you not waiting and sit back until we come to you? And I think the opportunity here is, and it's actually important for us to perform our work, is to not make it look like magic. You need to be able to say, it's actually, sorry to say, quite boring. It's a process. You have a challenge, you use technology, you make it more efficient. It's very straightforward, and it's not this AI does something nobody knows. And I think it is important that we navigate together with regulators, with associations, and with partners into what is possible.
Thank you all very much. Very interesting what we heard now about AI and aviation. Now I would like to spotlight the partnerships we talked about before. So first I would like to talk about the Ai Co-Validator. Theresa, how would you describe the benefits of the Ai Co-Validator for aviation safety management?
Yes, of course. So the Ai Co-Validator helps the safety officers to really ease the initial analysis. So we could see that 80% of the in-handed reports can actually be automated by the Ai Co-Validator. And this is possible because it uses the historic reports and it sees similarities. So if, for example, you want to know what the ATRIP classification is, our application is doing a semantic comparison to historic data and can say, okay, we had this before, and because of that, I think this report is also of this or that class. And this helps the officers a lot. So they don't need to come up with their own suggestion, but they get a suggestion by the AI. And this way, with each report, multiple minutes can be actually saved. So with the Ai Co-Validator, the officers do have the time to concentrate on the really critical reports.
Yeah, and you really see extremely good results at our customers. So it's really about 80% of the reports are automatically processed through the Ai Co-Validator. And this year you get 800, 900 reports per month, what you have to manually process. With the Ai Co-Validator, if 80% are automatically processed by the system, take 5 minutes per report, and then everyone can do the math how much resources we save and we can use for safety critical tasks within the organization.
That sounds amazing. So apparently to all people listening and watching, sounds like you will get a lot less work to do. Now also moving on to the Ai Co-Analyst. Alan, would you like to talk a bit about the advantages about the Ai Co-Analyst identifying, prioritizing hazard from incoming reports?
Yeah, I think the Co-Analyst is an assistant for both management as well as safety analysts or officers. We use technology for managers to get aggregated dashboards on risks, to understand the trends, to understand the correlations, to understand what happened yesterday, last week, last month, things that are currently being done either manual to the management or not at all because of human limitations. The goal of the Co-Analyst for managers to get a real-time view on top risks, top hazards, and then to have that consistent conversation. The Co-Analyst for safety officers or people currently looking at reports is, number one, to prioritize what are reports I want to work first, because they want to look at obviously critical reports first. The other thing the analyst does is it will sum up and summarize the reports. It will also propose hazards that are detected behind that, so you can get a proactive view. It will also perform some classification work. The main thing about the analyst is the impact on the analyst within iQSMS is what Günther already said, is like as an analyst, be in a position to process much more reports faster, but also to then provide data that goes for the manager into these dashboards. And to give you some examples, some features about the co-analyst that we've released, when we detect hazards behind reports, we're able to show you the correlations between hazards, but also the correlations between hazards and events, which the left side of the bow tie should give you a proactive view on what's happening. The other thing we've done with the analyst is we've started working in a way to look at automated root cause analysis. Let me tell you the story how this happened. One of our users that is using iQSMS said that the regulators had a finding where they wanted them to perform on all safety-related reports root cause analysis. And rightfully, the answer was, this is impossible. It's like, we can't, we just have too many reports, we can't do it. So what we've done is we've used our capabilities to look into historical data. We trained an AI model specifically to automate root cause analysis on reports. So AI will generate proposals for root causes. You can go in, you can select those who make sense. You need to be, of course, with your experience, very careful to select those who make sense. You can also add your root causes that you feel are missing or that AI didn't pick up, and then generate recommendations. All in all, it is, as I talked before with Günther, it is our job to look at all these different challenges of safety managers, of analysts, and to help them automate and get them to much more proactive and predictive views, in a nutshell.
Also here with what you've mentioned with the root cause analysis, I think all the safety managers and quality managers or compliance monitoring managers who will watch now this panel discussion, I think we all know some of the root cause analysis we sometimes receive from the responsibles or the auditees who have to do this type of work. And I think we all know that it's not always the best results that we are receiving, and that it's not really root cause analysis is performed by the people who should perform it, because it's not their daily job to do that. If I'm assigned like to 5 reports per year, how should I do a great root cause analysis? I have different responsibilities. And I think here with the functionality and what you're providing today, it will also motivate the creativity of the people who have to perform that. So it will really help us to eliminate a huge issue, what we see on a daily basis, and really help also the responsibles and the process owners that they understand, okay, this could be a root cause for this event. But then also it will trigger their own analysis, and they might enter their own additional root cause analysis, and then to take the proper actions in order to eliminate that and really have a boost to the entire operation based on that, because then we really can say these were the root causes and we would like to eliminate those root causes, that we are not having the same issues again and again as the organization. And that's why I think it's just with all the different functionalities, but it's also just a fantastic way.
And it's a beautiful marriage between experienced people and machine, and just shows the endless opportunities to use that technology. And maybe to add one more thing, that how we operate together as partners. Everybody that is watching, and when they will ask their teams, what is a day-to-day challenge? It is searching for information within systems, right? So you have your keyword-based search engine, and you are looking at years of data. And the issue that we heard was, we tried to say, what is your challenge? And then people said, I would like to be able to type a search that is not specifically keyword-based. Like, for example, show me all reports that talk about OHS-related incidents. People are not reporting this is an OHS incident. So they're talking about what's happening, but the current, like, let's say, classical search engines wouldn't pick it up. So what we've developed together was an AI semantic search that allows you now to find needle in haystacks. And that's exactly the power of such a technology, because now you can easily go into the system and say, I have to, for my specific task, I have to find certain reports, and you can find them way faster, way more focused. And I think that's why it's so beautiful to come in with like a approach where iQSMS is a platform, where we come in as application, because we can help on so many levels to use those technologies.
Thank you. Yeah, very interesting to hear what cooperation between these companies can do and also can do to help people in their day-to-day life.
At this stage, we have come to the end of this panel discussion. First of all, thank you so much for Theresa and for Ellen for coming here to Vienna to have this panel discussion with us. Your extremely helpful insights regarding your daily work and the challenges we see. So I think we've covered a lot of interesting topics. We've talked about training, the basis of AI, how do we foresee the future? And especially on that topic, I think with this panel discussion we have shown, it will be a very long road we are on. We are just at the beginning of this road. So thank you also to you for listening to this panel discussion. And I hope there were many interesting insights also for you to better understand how the different tools and how technology can help you as an organization and how the future will look like in safety management system. So thanks again for joining us, for making the way to Vienna. For all the listeners, whenever you have questions, please reach out either to us at ASQS, also directly to our partners to learn more about our functionalities and features. And we look very much forward to talking to you also personally very, very soon. So thank you so much and hope to talk to you. Bye-bye.